Hello everyone and welcome back to another explanation video. This time for the lower level rankings of February. I'm only gonna go over the top 8 to like clear up some confusion, mainly the top 4. For new things to refresh everyone's memory how you get on the lower level rankings, you have to play either low ink day 1 or day 2 or day 2. So if you don't qualify for day 2, don't worry. But if you do qualify for day 2, you can play day 2, or if you have to drop, as long as you complete day 1, you're fine. Then also you have to play LSL and Minnow Cup. Let me repeat, you have to play LSL and Minnow Cup, or LSL with low ink, or Minnow Cup with low ink. So you have to play Minnow Cup and LSL with something else, whether that be low ink itself or Minnow or LSL and Minnow Cup or whatever, Just thought I'd refresh everyone's memory. Reason for this: if you only play LSL, you'd probably be pretty low and probably wouldn't get on the top 50 or even in the honorable mentions. The top 3 would probably be very, very low. And then, not to mention, Minnow Cup, it's just one mode, and I don't want to rank people. I don't want to rank teams off of one mode. Just so everyone's clear, just so we're clear, it's only lower level events. The 3 I just named: low ink, LSL, Minnow Cup. Those are the only 3. So please don't yell at me and be like, why are we ranked here when we beat this +3 pickup in a weekly? I don't care what you did in that weekly, and if you did beat a +3 pickup, congrats to you. I don't know if you want a cookie or something, maybe. I don't know. Okay. But yeah. If you want to follow along, I recommend opening the doc yourself. If you're listening, I will try my best to say the numbers and along with the team's name. So yeah, gonna start off in the top 8. Well, first things first. 9 through 11, you can switch in any order. I didn't want to put tied for 9th, so I just kind of put them in this order, but you can switch them around any way you please. I'm only gonna talk about these 3 since they could really flip and flop in any order. So 11th through 9th, you can flip them around however you please. I just didn't want to do ties outside of the top 8. Alright. Alright, to address the, I guess, elephant in the room, because a lot of people were shocked Legato was not number 1. Reason for this, I did not include LSL 18 or LSL Invitational 2. Reason being, there were 2 teams in there that are banned from lower level events, but were either those 2 teams were Demon Hunters, who is the LSL 13 champion. And this was an invitational for LSL champions and former participants who ended up being banned before they could win LSL. So yeah, the only 3 teams this really affected in this top 8 were Ink Bashers, Legato, and Kraken United. But even then, I don't even think it affected Kraken United and Legato that much. I did not include them simply because ITAP and Demon Hunters are both banned from lower level events. So any of those 3 teams, any of the teams in the Invitational that qualified for this, for the February rankings, if they beat ITAP and or Demon Hunters, it's pretty obvious they're gonna be either number 1 or number 2 or number 3, whatever, especially if they have a good month or just a decent month. And really all they would have to do is make alpha bracket and get a couple of decent wins. But ultimately, those wins against those two teams or one of those two teams would carry them a lot. So yeah, the only significant difference it made, which I guess is probably a huge difference, Legato, if I include the Invitational, is just flat out number 1. Crack United drops down to 2. Ink Bashers probably moves up to 3rd or 4th. Yume Stars probably drops down to 5th or 4th, depending on where Ocean 7 drops as well. So, yeah. I didn't include the Invitational because I found it pretty boring. It's almost like the same thing when like Ludi comes out and there are a bunch of low ink eligible teams that end up getting Div 4 and they get one last chance to play before they get booted out. So I just thought I'd I just thought I'd not include it simply because to make it interesting for myself, I like making these kind of challenging. I like going back and forth about my decisions of who's going to be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and stuff like that. It creates discussion, and I like discussion, so I just didn't want a flat out definitive number 1. Probably a poor decision. Probably poor decision making on my part. I probably will just include stuff like that next time. There probably won't ever be another LSO Invitational. But yeah. So yeah. That basically explains that. I feel like the top 8 is pretty self-explanatory for Yume Stars. Why they're tied number 1. They got first in beta, top 8 in Metal Cup, but the main thing that stood out to me were these wins, especially. They beat Up the Ante 3 times, I believe. All of those were in low ink. They beat the likes of Shiver Me Feeders, Ink Sync, Legato, and Kraken United. Beating the Shiver Me Feeders, Ink Sync, Legato, and Crack United all in 1 month is pretty impressive to me. I believe on the last lower level rankings, they were all in the top 8. Except for Shiver Me Feeders because they are pickup and they don't qualify for this. And they didn't qualify for this at the time, so yeah. Pretty in my opinion, that was pretty good. Despite them ending up in beta bracket, they showed that they shouldn't be there. That's like how they showed they shouldn't have been in gamma bracket the month before. So, and then in Middle Cup, they went 5-0. Unfortunately, they got knocked out first round, but I think for this month, I could see them being an alpha bracket team, but we will see. For Crack United, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Even without the Invitational, they had a pretty good month, a very consistent month. Second in low ink, third in Middle Cup. Their wins also speak for themselves. They beat Ink Sync, they beat Shiver Me Feeders, they beat Kappa, they beat Squid Killers, Ink Bashers, Little Timmy and the Splats, which is just Ink Sync members, and Japanda. They beat Inked twice, they beat Legato, they beat King Plan, and they also beat not your, but my Lag Paradise as well. So yeah, really good wins and then really good placements throughout the month. They probably should just be the definitive number 1. You could argue that, and you can also still argue Legato for number 1 as well, or in the top 2 as for number 1 as well, if even without the Invitational. So yeah. Just so I like clear that up. That's the only reason Legato isn't number 1 right now. So if I included the Invitational, this would be the top 8. It would be Legato at number 1. Kraken United. It would be either. It would probably either be Yuma Star, Ink Bashers, or Ink Bashers, Yuma Star, Ocean 7. Then My Lag Paradise, Heaven's Infinity, and then Aquatic Vanguard. Alright, I hope that cleared up a lot of things. Hope that cleared up a lot of things. I just didn't want to include the Invitational simply for that reason of those teams being in that Invitational. Demon Hunters and ITAP, them being banned from lower level events. The rest of these teams that were not invited to the Invitational, some of these teams that were not invited to the Invitational didn't have the opportunity to play against them, like some of these teams. So, it would have been almost a situation where Ludi divs come out and a lot of low-ink eligible teams get, and a couple of low-ink eligible teams get div 4, and low-ink lets them in for one last time, and then if they play their Ludi set and then just have a decent low-ink that's just making alpha bracket or placing high in alpha bracket, and then they beat a low-ink banned team in Ludi on top of that, then it's like, it's pretty self-explanatory who's all gonna be in the top 4 when that happens. So, or who's gonna be number 1, number 2, and all that other stuff, depending on how many teams there are that are in that type of situation. So yeah, for the top 8, this only affected 3 teams. It didn't, besides just Legato not being number 1. I wouldn't say it affected them too much. I think the only team it didn't really matter for was Kraken United. They probably only dropped down by 1 spot. So yeah. I hope that explains everything. I will be taking a break for the month of March, since people want to police how many times I say I'm gonna take a break. If I just don't take a break, I just don't take a break. I really like doing these. I like talking about the game, and rankings allows me to talk about the game and what's happening, competitively with the game as well. So yeah, I just don't take a break. But I am taking a break this month. I am a bit burnt out at the moment. But yeah, that's about all. One last thing to clear up. This is for what you did in the month of February. So if you were like, I don't know, if there's a situation where you were in alpha bracket last month and then you just had a bad month and you fell to beta or something, and you see yourself pretty lower from where you were last time, don't take it personal. It's just what you did for the month of February, not so what you did in January kind of just doesn't matter anymore unless people want me to start doing it like that. Obviously that's more work on me, but I could consider doing it like that, but we will see. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button. It lets me know people like listening to these, and stuff. So yeah, if you have any questions about your team, if I just didn't go over your team or in depth enough about your team or why you're here, feel free to DM me. Stopping by my stream would probably be better whenever I do decide to stream, because I can actually just, just so since I can just go more in depth. If you just DM me, I'll probably just give you like a short answer probably. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.